Object pronouns.
Pronouns are words that have different forms depending on their use in a sentence. When they are used as the subject of a sentence or clause, they have the forms on the left: I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. When they are used as the objects of verbs or when they come after prepositions, they have the forms on the right: me, you, him, her, it, us, you, them. So, as you can see here, the form of a pronoun that is used depends on the function of the pronoun in a given sentence or clause. Pronouns are often used to substitute for what we call noun phrases. A noun phrase is a noun and any other words that are associated with the noun. For example, in the sentence, "The boy likes the video game very much," we can substitute he for the boy. That is, he substitutes for the two words the boy. We can substitute it for the video game. That is, the word it is being used in place of the video game. So you can see here is that a pronoun can substitute a noun, but it frequently substitutes more than just the noun. It substitutes the noun and any words that go with the noun, any adjectives, any articles, determiners, etc. In the second example on this slide, we see the girls call their friends every night. Then in the second version, they call them every night. They is being used to replace the girls. Them is being used to replace their friends. Because the girls is in the subject position, we use the form they to replace it. Because their friends is in the object position, we use the pronoun form them to replace that object, their friends. So here we see two things: that pronouns can often substitute more than just the noun, and that the form of the pronoun depends on its function in a sentence or clause. On this slide, we see examples of prepositions substituting for noun phrases that come as part of a prepositional phrase. That is, they come after a preposition. In the sentence, John put the books under the desk, we have a prepositional phrase, under the desk. We have the preposition under and then the noun phrase, the desk. One could replace the phrase the desk with the object pronoun form it. In the second example, the children are playing with the blocks. We have a prepositional phrase, with the blocks. With is the preposition and the blocks is the noun phrase. We could replace the words the blocks with the object pronoun form them. The children are playing with them. So we see that the object pronoun forms are used when the pronouns are in the object position after verbs, or when they come in prepositional phrases after a preposition. Some verbs take both direct and indirect objects. Direct objects usually refer to something. Indirect objects usually refer to a person. In the sentence, Peter gave flowers to Elba, flowers is the direct object. The flowers are the thing. And to Elba is the indirect object. It tells who received the flowers. When you have both direct and indirect objects, if the direct object comes first and the indirect object second, the indirect object is preceded by what appears to be a preposition. either the word to or sometimes the preposition for. The preposition to is more frequent, but it depends on the verb that is being used. As you can see, the indirect object comes after the preposition to or the preposition for. Therefore, it takes the object pronoun form. It is not necessary that the direct and indirect objects be both pronouns or both noun phrases. Various combinations are possible depending on the emphasis that the speaker or writer wishes to give. Here we see various combinations. Peter gave the flowers to Elba. We have a noun phrase, the flowers, and then we have to Elba, a noun phrase, a noun, Elba. Peter gave them to her. We have a pronoun them and a pronoun her. Peter gave the flowers to her. We have a noun phrase, the flowers, and a pronoun her. And finally, Peter gave them to Elba. We have a pronoun them and the noun Elba. So you can see that there are various possible combinations of noun or noun phrases and or pronouns that can be used in direct objects and indirect objects. Sometimes the order of the direct and indirect objects are reversed. That is, sometimes we place the indirect object before the direct object. So we have the example, Peter gave Elba flowers. If we change Elba to the appropriate object pronoun, we get her. So then we get Peter gave her flowers. Notice that when the indirect object comes before the direct object, we do not use to or for. That is, we do not say to her. We only use to her if the indirect object comes after the direct object. When the direct object comes after the indirect object, it is frequently not substituted with a pronoun. If you wish to use a pronoun for the direct object, then it's more common to put the direct object first and the indirect object second. Again, if you put the indirect object after the direct object, you have to precede it with a preposition to or in some cases for. So although it is possible to say Peter gave her them, it would be more common to say Peter gave them to her. This is true even when the indirect object is not a pronoun but the name of a person or persons. So the order of direct and indirect object to some extent is determined by whether or not the direct object is a noun or noun phrase, or if it is a pronoun. When it is a pronoun, it's more common to put the direct object first. When it is a noun or noun phrase, then it can be placed first or second. The important that the indirect object must be preceded by the preposition to or for when it comes after the direct object, and must not be preceded by to or for when it comes before the direct object.